Approved crew, welcome back. This time you're gonna have to buckle up because it's gonna be a doozy. We are here to talk about the new Beauty Blender Bounce Foundation. So if that's something you're interested in watching, then you're in the right place. We're about to get into it.
I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf.
So before I start this review, I just want to say I am so excited about the giveaway that we have decided to do for everybody. If you follow my Instagram, then you know over the weekend we decided to actually add a couple of products to the Norvina palette. Actually, we announced one additional product, and that is the new Mystics palette by Bad Habit Beauty. We have a brand spanking new one in here, along with a brand spanking new Norvina palette. So our little giveaway box is growing and growing. I probably will have a couple of additional items in here. Don't forget the brush set by Beauty by Brianna will be in here, as well as that makeup bag. So we have a lot of good things going into that giveaway box. If you guys are following my Instagram, then you already know. If you're not following my Instagram, I don't know why you're not. I'll put down here what my Instagram is. Make sure that you guys are giving me a follow. Also, don't forget to like this video because it really helps me out when you guys do. So, the Beauty Blender Foundation. Oh my God. Trend Mood released a photo and it caused the entire world to explode. A lot of times when you're taking a photo of a photo or a photo of a video, that photo, because it's been processed a couple of times, it's like taking a picture of a picture. You lose some of the color content in the original picture. When you take a picture of a picture or a picture of a video, you're gonna lose some of that original color. And she took a picture of a video and then she posted that up on her page, and the shades were not true to color. Now, that was a really bad choice on her part, especially when you are putting a picture up that millions of people are gonna look at, and it's specifically a foundation. If it was a mascara tube or something else, I could understand. But the first thing people are going to look at when it comes to foundation is the tones and the color of the foundation. So doing that was just not a good choice. But do I think she did it maliciously, or do I think she was trying to sabotage the Beauty Blender? Absolutely not. Well, Jeffree Star kicked off, everyone kicked off, and all of a sudden we have a whole community that's outraged over a foundation that was launched with 32 shades. If I'm going to be a little bit honest with you guys here, which you guys know I always am, the outrage culture that we have going on within this community is getting a little tiring for me. It seems like every time a brand does anything, everyone has to jump to see who the first person is that can be outraged the most. My concern with this new outrage culture that is sweeping through the beauty community is that if everyone's going to run around with their hair on fire and scream fire about everything, that when something genuinely upsetting happens and our voices genuinely need to be heard, brands are going to be like, oh, it's just another fit of hysteria, it'll pass. And our voices will become desensitized because we're fighting brands about everything. Do I think there's an issue with the Beauty Blender Foundation? We're going to get into that in just a little bit. But I do wish that everybody would just take a second, and can we take a minute to appreciate that we just had a brand new foundation that launched that didn't just have 12 shades. My personal opinion is that the Beauty Blender organization should be congratulated for actually launching a foundation shade with more than 12 shades. I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that they came out initially with 32 shades. I genuinely do. Now, what I decided to do when I noticed that, even looking online at the Beauty Blender website, it did seem that there was an uneven skew when it came to the color shade range. It does seem like the majority of the shades are in a specific tone. It's not the light tone, it's not the medium tone, and it's not the deep dark tone. It's a category that the Beauty Blender has called the medium plus tone. Now, to understand why this is, you have to understand why the decision was made. And the owner of Beauty Blender is a Latina. It was very passionate to her that she represented her community very well with this foundation launch. That was a decision that she chose to make. As a private business owner, she has the right to make that choice. And just so you know, she's not the only person that's ever made that choice. When Stellar Beauty was launched, it was launched by an Indian-born lady that lives in Canada, and she launched the Stellar Beauty Foundation with only medium shades that catered to that kind of Indian, Arabic, Latina, that very ethnic kind of dark, medium, really rich, beautiful skin tone. She didn't even include fair shades or dark shades. It was only medium shades. That's a foundation that's sold at Sephora to this day, and it's one of their best-selling foundations. And you've never heard a peep from the beauty community about that. Black Radiance is a Black-owned brand. They literally have 12 shades of foundation that are only for deep, dark skin tones because the owner of that organization, a private organization, decided that she only wanted to cater to people in her community and her culture. And as a business owner, she has the right to make that decision. So in regards to the decision itself, the Beauty Blender owner has the right to make that decision because plenty of other people in the beauty community have made that decision before her and no one has said a word. Now, talking about the decision itself and whether or not I feel as though it was a good decision to make. Now we're going to get into it. So, if this was a privately owned business the size of, say, Stellar Beauty or the size of, say, Black Radiance, both of those beauty brands are smaller. They're well-known beauty brands. They're beauty brands that are sold in places like Target and Walmart, and Stellar Beauty is sold in Sephora, for crying out loud. So these are brands that are smaller, privately owned, but they're still big enough to have an imprint in the beauty community. The Beauty Blender business is an entirely different proposition. There is not one makeup artist that does not have this in their kit. There is probably not one girl that puts makeup on her face that doesn't have this somewhere in her room. Having said that, that means that the footprint of this organization is literally millions of women. Millions and millions of women already have a product of this brand in their home. So this brand making a new product, they have to understand that they're not a small company. They have a product right now that is basically in every home, in every female and male person that is in love with makeup has a product of theirs in their home already. As a business owner, you should know your demographic. And your demographic of people that buy your product is not just a Latina demographic. It is everyone. So, do I think it was a good decision for her to make? No. I think she should have taken a second to realize that the people that buy the Beauty Blender, the people that already patronize your organization, are people from all cultures, are people from all colors, are people all over the world. And I feel like if you're going to create a product, then you should create a product for your consumer. And in Beauty Blender's case, your consumer is everybody. But she doesn't have to do that. In my opinion, I feel like that would have been the smarter move. So let's talk about what the decision actually was. And let's insert some actual facts into this discussion. All right, so I'm actually going to show you guys a chart, and I'm going to throw it up on the screen. But before I do, I want to point out some specific things to you guys about this chart. So this is the chart itself, and I'm going to show it to you guys so you have a closer up view. But one thing I want you to look at is it's divided into 4 columns, okay? Across these columns, you have light, medium, medium plus, and dark and deep dark. And then down the side of the column, it's been divided into rows. You have the cool row, the neutral row, and then the warm row. So it's kind of like a grid, right? So you can go down this way, and then you can find your undertone and go across this way, and that should have a little square in it there that will show you what your match is. So keep that in mind as I throw up this graphic for you guys to take a look at. So the first thing that I want you guys to look at is the very light colors. Now, in the very first column, which is the light column, you have 6 choices. 2 in the cool, 2 in the neutral, and 2 in the warm. Now then, I want you to look at the second column. That's medium. That's actually my color shade. If you're a cool medium, you have 1 foundation to choose from. If you are a neutral medium, you have 3. If you're a warm medium, you have 1 foundation to choose from. Now, we're going to go to the medium plus column. Now, this is where in the medium plus, it's not quite deep, not light enough to be a medium. It's that kind of darker medium. Like I said before, that kind of Indian, Arabic, Latina fall in this category with that very rich skin tone. And they have 2 choices in the cool, 4 choices in the neutral, and then they have 8 choices in the warm. And that is typically because when you see that's kind of olivey, beautiful skin tone, they do tend to have a more warmer undertone to them. And then you have the last column, which is the deep dark. You have cool if you're 2 choices if you're cool, 2 choices if you're neutral, 3 choices if you're warm. So just by looking at this chart, you know who got left out the most? That would be me. So if you are fair, then I think you might have a few things to choose from here. If you're very fair, this line's not going to be for you. If you're fair, you're going to have a couple of options here in each category. If you are kind of that light to medium in between, you're like me. You're a medium or a light medium. There's just not enough colors in here. You literally have 1 foundation to choose from if you're warm, 1 to choose from if you're cool, and then if you're neutral, you actually have 3 to choose from, but not a lot of people are neutral. Most people tend to be either a cool or a warm. If you are in this category here, then you are set up, good to go. If you're in the deep dark category, then you're going to have 2 options in the cool. You're actually going to have 3 options down in the warm, and then you'll have 2 options if you're in that neutral kind of category. So this was where she wanted to put the majority of her shade range. She wanted to put it in line with her community. And like I said, she is not the only person to do that. This is Stellar Beauty. And again, Stellar Beauty didn't even do fair. They didn't even do a deep dark. She specifically catered her shade range to that medium plus shades. And then of course you have Black Radiance, who did 12 shades that are nothing but deep dark. So again, this is not a new thing. Whether or not it was the right thing for the beauty blender to do, you know, that's going to be something that you have to think about, whether or not you agreed with her decision. But it's not a new decision. It's something that has been done oftentimes before, and as a private business owner, she's specifically within her rights to be able to do that. So yes, it sucks. I hate the fact that this brand new foundation came out, and when I looked at this shade chart, I was basically stuck with, you know, a bottle to choose from. If you're fair, you don't even get to play with the Beauty Bounce. If you are light, then you have a couple of bottles in each undertone. If you're deep dark, you have a couple of bottles in each undertone. But if you are medium plus, this foundation is for you. So now that we've talked about all of that and you guys kind of know why she made the decision that she made, you guys can have your own opinion about what you think about that decision. My personal opinion about it is that as a business owner, it's not a smart decision. There literally is a beauty blender in just about every makeup lover's home in America, all over the world, and you chose to exclude the majority of those people, and those are your customers. So it just wasn't a smart decision to make. If the beauty blender was a brand new brand and she wanted to come out and this was like her first launch and she was making the statement up front, hey, we are going to be a Latina friendly community beauty brand, then I would definitely understand that, and I honestly wouldn't even really say anything if that's the way that she wanted to launch it. But you're the beauty blender, man. Everybody has your product. So it only makes sense to me that everybody should be able to enjoy the foundation. It just makes more sense. But facts matter, and we have to make sure that we understand A, the truth about the shade range and where the color schemes lie and how she designed it, and B, why she designed it that way. Because I do feel like sometimes it can get lost in all the hysteria, when the truth of the matter is everybody but the medium plus community was excluded. So I do think that when something like this pops up, it's important for all of us to educate ourselves, number one. Number two, understand the truth about the situation. Number three, make our own decisions. And number four, I don't think we should all be so quick to jump before we understand all the facts of a situation. All right, so rant over. Let's get into the product itself. So I wound up with 2.5, which was my choice if you are a medium and you have the undertone I have. And this is the component. This is what it looks like. And I actually love the idea of this component like everybody else, but I do have like one little qualm with it, and I'll get into that in a minute. But for right now, let's take a closer look at the component. So obviously, as you can see, and everybody knows by now, you have that little dip / mixing plate that you can pump the foundation into. And then of course it's this beautiful frosted glass, and it has a lock on the back so you can lock and unlock the foundation itself, which is nice. Makes you able to carry it and not have to worry about it kind of spilling everywhere. You push the button down, the foundation goes into the well, and then you can use your beauty blender to apply it to the face, or a brush, or whatever it is that you use. This is a 1 fluid ounce of product like every other foundation out there. The one thing that I actually really do like about this particular mechanism and the technology and the innovation that they used with this mechanism is that a lot of times I will mix things with my foundation, whether it's like an oil that has like some sparkle in it, or whether or not it's a moisturizer, or whatever it is that you want to mix with your foundation. This gives you a nice area where you can do that, and then just take your beauty blender and bounce it on here and then apply the product. So I do like that. One thing I don't like is how messy this gets, and the fact that you have to clean this after every single time that you use this. And then one other thing that really kind of bothers me about this is the inability to clean out the nozzle. And I'll show you guys what I mean here. So the nozzle itself gets foundation all up in there and underneath it. I have a really hard time being able to get it out of there. So I don't like the fact that it's right there near where new foundation comes out, and you have the potential for old foundation to be stuck up underneath there. And of course it's dark and it's wet and it's going to grow things, and it's just going to be a nightmare from a bacterial perspective. So after I use this, I typically will take a Q-tip and put it in some antibacterial, and I'll just swirl it up underneath there, because I still can't get it all cleaned out, but at least I can fight some of the bacteria back that's going to grow underneath this nozzle. So I don't really like that feature just from a sanitation perspective, but I mean the idea is good, and I like I love seeing the innovation when it comes to a foundation bottle. I love that they're kind of pushing the boundaries when it comes to a component, and I think that this was very creative. Now, even though I didn't actually use a beauty blender, I actually used this. This has become my absolute favorite beauty sponge as of lately. This is the Velvet Sponge by LC Cosmetics. You guys, this thing is stunning. I'll show you a close-up of it here. This is how big it is in comparison to a beauty blender. I love the fact that it comes to a point because I can really get in underneath my eyes and get into all those like nooks and crannies, but then it has this really fat, wide bottom surface that makes it really good for just patting out on big surface areas on the face. I love this thing, you guys. It is so soft on the skin. It's latex free, so it's not one of those like weird hard beauty blenders that you get when you're like, oh, I got a bad beauty blender. This is not going to be able to pat anything out. This is not like that at all. This is so soft and it feels so good. But it's very durable. So I've been able to wash this like a ton of times. With these nails, I have a hard time washing beauty blenders. Oftentimes they'll rip on me. And this hasn't ripped. It hasn't torn. And I am in love with this. I just love using this because I can put powder underneath here with the tip. And then I can turn around and bounce like this. And then I can use the other side to blend my concealer out. I love it. If you guys haven't checked out the Velvet Sponge by LC Cosmetics, I absolutely recommend that you check this out because this is Erika approved. So getting into application. So I did just do the typical, you know, application, and I'll show you guys the application process here. Initially, when I first put the foundation on, it did look very nice. I don't feel like this is an absolute match for me. I feel like it was a little light. I would like to have had something maybe that's just a little bit darker, so I don't really feel like they have my shade in this particular foundation line. But, you know, I just warmed up my face with bronzer and contour, so, you know, it's one of those things where I could make it work. But overall, it went on pretty. I think the coverage is, I would classify it as full coverage, although it's not as full coverage as I've seen some foundations. There's definitely more full coverage foundations out there, but I would say it still is a full coverage. I think it's on the high end of medium, and then probably right there at full coverage. With another layer, you would be able to get full coverage out of it. One thing I did see is that when you go up to like 2 layers, you really start to feel it. It starts to get heavy after 2 layers, and I would not do anything more than 2 layers because it is a matte foundation, so you are gonna notice that it starts to get a little cakey, and I definitely noticed that because I tend to put a little bit extra here and here because I have some hyperpigmentation here that I always try and cover. So I'll do 1 thin layer all over my whole face, and then I'll go in just these areas here with another thin layer, and then depending on the formula, I'll actually go in with another thin layer. And one thing I did notice with this is that as you build it, it does get heavier, and it looks heavier on the skin. It looks a little cakey. One thing I did notice is that a setting spray did fix that with this particular foundation. So in those areas where I thought it looked a little heavy, a good spritz of a good setting spray will actually help that melt into the skin a little bit more. But initially, I don't think it looks very skin-like. I think it does look like you have makeup on the face, but it does look pretty. I mean, overall, it is a pretty finish on the face. I did not do a full day wear test on this because, to be honest with you guys, when I came up on the 4-hour mark and I sat down to do my first check-in, I really just took it off. And here's why. Initially, when I sat down to do the first check-in at the 4-hour mark, the first thing that I noticed was that I was very oily in my T-zone. For those of you that are new here and you don't know, I have very combination skin. So I'm dry on the outside and I have an oily T-zone. And right through here was very shiny and very oily. Also, at the 4-hour mark, my foundation was gone off my chin. It was also gone off the sides of my nose already, and it had sunk into my smile lines, which for me is a deal breaker. If you sink into fine lines and wrinkles on the skin, it's just gonna go downhill from there. And I had an event to go to later on in the day, and I did not want to go with my foundation looking as bad as it did. So I will show you guys some close-ups here. You're gonna first see where it really starts to look cakey right around the corner of the nose, and it really starts to settle into those fine lines pretty quickly. Guys, this was at 4 hours. This was at the 4-hour mark. I do not think that this did a good job at holding back oil. So if you're oily, I don't know that this is going to be good for you. But here's the other thing, guys. In addition to it kind of coming off, like you can see on my chin where there was just a bald spot, and the sides of my nose where it was getting very cakey, and again the smile lines, overall though it feels very drying. So because it felt very dry and drying on the skin, which most matte foundations do. So I even, you know, moisturized going into the application just to make sure that I was nice and hydrated, because it is a matte foundation. So I tend to like matte foundations because, again, I have that oily T-zone. So it does a good job matte foundations do a good job at helping me control oil throughout the day. Even after this foundation was applied and it was set, it still did not hold back oils for me in my T-zone, and it still came off in these areas here after 4 hours, at the 4-hour mark. So the foundation is just average. And it's sad because when I first initially put it on, even though I thought it was a little heavy here and I started to get that feeling, once I spritzed it with setting spray, I thought, you know what, it's fixed. And then 4 hours later, we were in a really bad situation. Now, what I did the next day was I really went in with some oil, face oil, and really did an extra bit of hydration on the skin to try and see if I could offset that drying feeling. And it did a little bit. It actually went on beautifully with a face oil. Went on really, really pretty. I set it. It actually started looking really good. I checked in on it at the 2-hour mark. It looked really good. I checked in at it at the 4-hour mark, and here was already gone. So I am a little late putting this one up for you guys. And the truth is, I really wanted it to work. And I wanted it to work because I like the freaking component. So I really wanted this one to work for me. So I really tried this any way you can think of. I even tried it on a day with no primer underneath at all. I've tried it with, the Cover FX, it's a really heavy setting spray for like really humid days out, and you want to really like keep your makeup on your face. That setting spray that Cover FX has is amazing at that. I even tried it with those setting sprays just to try and keep it on my face, and sometimes it extended the longevity by a little bit, but then it would still sink into my lines. It was still really cakey. You guys, the price point on this is $40. It is not an inexpensive foundation. I honestly think that the Maybelline the Maybelline Fit Me is a better foundation than this foundation. I think it's overly drying on the skin. I do not think it helps control oils on the face. I don't think the longevity of the formula is there. It does come off very easy, and as your natural oils come out and really start to mix with the foundation, you really end up getting some cakiness going on. And if you have any texture on your face, i.e. fine lines, wrinkles, this is not going to be the formula for you. When I first applied it, you know what it reminded me of? It really reminded me of the ColourPop No Filter foundation. It reminds me a lot of this foundation in the way that it goes on your face, the way it sits on your skin, and the way that it feels, except this actually stays on your face. And this doesn't sink into your fine lines and wrinkles, and this one does. unfortunately, you guys, this is, for me, I don't think this is worth the money at all. It's just not a good enough foundation. If you're going to spend $40, there are much better foundations out there for you. If I was going to make a recommendation that was right around that $40 price point, I would much rather see you purchase the oil-free matte new It Cosmetics formula, the Dior Backstage formula, the Beauty Bakery Cake Mix, but make sure that you watch my video so that you apply this correctly, or even the Laura Mercier Ultra Flawless Fusion Wear. Any of those foundations are right around that same price point, and they outperform this foundation by leaps and bounds. I just don't think it's a good formula. I think it's a very average kind of drugstore formula. I hate to say that, but it really does remind me of like kind of the lower end drugstore formulas. Not even like the Maybelline Fit Me would outperform this particular foundation. I just was not happy with it. And I know a lot of people are going to be enamored with the packaging and they're probably going to give it really good reviews. You guys, I held on to this and refused to put this video up for like over a week. Since it launched, I got my hands on it immediately, and I have really delayed in posting my video, even though I should have gotten it up a lot sooner for you guys because it was out a while ago. But I really wanted to give it a good workout because I really wanted to like it, and I wanted to come on here and say that it was very innovative, and even though all this craziness was going on, it was a great formula and the component was fantastic, and I think it's really neat. I wanted to like this one. I really did. So you're probably going to see a lot of positive reviews on it because I had that feeling too of, oh my gosh, I'm going to put it on right now. I'm going to put it on, show them what my face looks like, show them how pretty it looks when it's on, and just end the review. But you guys know that's not me. I can't just show you how pretty it looks when I first put it on. If it slides off my face a couple of hours later, then it's really not worth it for me. So I had to stay true to me and stay true to the channel and stay true to you guys and just let you know that your money is just better invested in something else. Hopefully, maybe they'll revisit the formula because I know there's a lot of talks going on because of the big dust up over the shade range that maybe they want to be a little more inclusive and add some more colors. Maybe they'll take some feedback as far as it being drying and maybe not being as long lasting as it should be, and the fact that it falls into your fine lines and wrinkles, and maybe they'll come out with a better formula. But for right now, I just don't think it's good enough to say it's Erika approved. And I really hate that because it is really neat. I wish it would just work and stay on my face. But it's really not. I just tried this one and this one outperformed it so much better. It's just not good. It's really sad because I really liked it. It's just not good. Alright guys, well that is it. I hope you enjoyed this review. As always, if you are new here, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you're notified every time I upload a video. Make sure you guys are following me on Instagram. We have the giveaway winner announcement coming soon. Don't forget, the very last day for you to enter is on the 30th, and then we will live stream the winner on the 31st, and somebody is going to get a box full of goodies, including the Norvina palette. So yay! I'm very excited. We have some really cool reviews coming up, so make sure you guys stay tuned for those. And as always, I hope everybody is very happy and very healthy, and I will see you guys in the next video. Mwah.